Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Yinzer Brothers podcast. I am TJ, and I'm here with my brother Tim, and we are the Yinzer Bros. Today, we break down the Steelers' 28-21 victory over the Texans. It was a great game that propelled our Steelers to 3-0 and dropped the Texans to 0-3. I enjoyed the game thoroughly. I thought it was absolutely wonderful. I think that when you look at the game, there's a mix of things that we can work on, but I think there's also some things that we did well that we can celebrate, especially we played against a pretty exceptional QB, Deshaun Watson. For me, it was a tale of two halves. The Texans seemed to have a solid game plan in the first half, and they gave us all kind of fits, but the second half was a different story. The Steelers made some amazing adjustments, especially on the defensive side of the ball, and they were a completely different team in the second half. Just a few stats just that jumped out to me real quick before we break them down. In the second half, the Texans rushed 5 rushes, 0 yards. Pretty impressive for a front that got dominated. Again, that didn't nullify what Deshaun Watson did, but they only had 29 yards rushing the entire game.
Yep.
So Tim, let's just focus first on the offensive side of the ball. What are some things that you think the Steelers did well on the offensive side of the ball?
I mean, I thought they ran the ball fairly well. I mean, when they did run the ball, especially in the second half, it seemed like they were able to control the line of scrimmage, especially in that fourth quarter. I thought their offense in the first quarter, maybe quarter and a half, was really stale. I mean, I didn't know what they were doing. They just didn't seem like they were same old, I'll never understand the second down and 20 draw play. It's a part of Fitchner's DNA. I don't understand it. I don't get it. I like the little sprinkle of McFarland. I thought he had some juice. Thought he looked pretty good, but I mean, they started using the tight ends a little bit more. But it was, I think when you play better teams, when you're playing a Baltimore team, you can't come out flat like they do. You just can't do it.
I think you're right. So here's some stats I think that'll make you happy. The Steelers rushed for 169 yards. Connor was 18 attempts, 18 carries, 109 yards, 6.1 yards average. And then McFarland, six rushes, 42 yards, a 7.0 average. Pretty good for the rookie.
He's fast.
He is very fast. And like you said, too, we started passing. We started getting the tight ends into the game, too, which I think was good.
I will say this, though, too. I'm getting a little nervous about Benny Snell because he seems like he's running scared now.
Mm-hmm.
He's holding onto the ball. I get it. You gotta make sure you're securing the ball, but he seems like he's not running like he was before he fumbled.
Yeah, I think you're right. I'll tell you what. Kudos to Coach Tomlin, though. He gave Benny the ball a few times to some pretty precarious places. They're down at the goal line, and Benny's got a few runs. I don't know if Benny would even look at the ball if I was the coach down that close, but he got him back on the horse, built some confidence. Even looking at the passing game real quick, Ben had 8 different receivers tonight. That's not too bad, right? And I think tonight we saw the tight end started to get into the game plan a little bit. Yeah. Between Ebron and between McDonald, they had 8 receptions tonight between them both. Not too shabby.
Is it just me, or does McDonald look like some type of Greek mythology creature? I mean, he does. He's a big dude. He just got that hair.
He does.
He's a big dude, but he looks like he's running in water anytime he gets the ball, which is.
He's not very fast. No, but he does. He's got that Norris kind of Thor look, though, I think.
He does.
Got that big beard and stuff. Yeah. And he's tough. I get nervous. But I'll tell you what, it was great to see Ebron in the offense tonight. Yeah. He made some phenomenal catches. And I'll tell you what, he looks to me like just a big wide receiver. He's got great body control and everything like that, too. Now, you did mention this earlier. The Steelers, when they lose Johnson, they're a different team. He adds a different dynamic. What are some of your thoughts about that?
I don't see any other receivers being able to get separation like he does. He can get separation very easily, and I see the other receivers having troubles doing that. As you could see later on in the game, I mean, Juju was kind of non-existent later on in the game. So was Besides that last play, Megatron, he was kind of on a, he was on, he really wasn't anywhere, so you got to have those guys that can create their own separation with their feet. And that's what Deontay Johnson does because he has quick feet. I saw a little bit from James Washington a little bit. But it got me nervous that it seems like he opens up the offense a lot more than I'm thinking Juju does or even, Claypool does.
Yeah. Well, let's just be real. I don't think Juju's a number one. I think he's a great number two receiver. I don't think he's a number one receiver. I think he needs somebody with speed on the other side because I think he's the one that gets the dirty yards. And you know what? You can't, Johnson's he's fast. He's got the quick feet, like you said. Washington doesn't even have that. I like Washington's power. And I think you saw a little bit tonight. Claypool had some great ability, but you could see tonight he came down to earth a little bit. Mm-hmm. He did a great play down the sideline, almost fumbled a touchback through the end zone, which would have been terrible.
See, we're going to bring this out. He was about an inch away from making – we're going to debut this. This is called the list. This is the Tim Harris list.
Tim has the list. Okay, tell us about the list, Tim.
The list of guys that I'm not a big fan of. And as you can see, number one on that list is Anthony Chickillo.
So for you guys that are listening and not able to see, the list is not just Steelers. The list also has a few Pittsburgh Pirates on it. So this is anybody in Pittsburgh sports history could make the list. You, my friend, might be able to make the list. So tell us a little bit about the list.
The list, again, number one is Anthony Chickillo.
Sure. He just stole money from the Steelers.
He stole way too much money. Number two, Terrell Edmonds. We'll get into that later when we talk about the defense. Number three, nice guy, but Sid Bream. Broke my heart as a 9-year-old.
He did. He's a heartbreaker.
Number four, I see this guy every once in a while out here where I live, Kent Graham. You think Anthony Chickillo stole money from the Pittsburgh Steelers? This guy stole.
So is Kent? Does he still live in Pittsburgh?
No. He's out by me.
Oh, he's a Chicago guy. Oh.
Yes. And I mean, he might as well just went into the Steelers organization with a mask on, with a gun. He just stole money.
He did. He was terrible. Money.
Number five, I'm going to throw this name out, Valentino Blake, a.k.a. Antoine Blake. That guy stunk. Worst cornerback I've ever seen. He was my guy for multiple years here with the Steelers.
He was bad.
In addition to this list, my number 6, Dustin Colquitt. You're making the list because you stink.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's talk about Colquitt. He had 4 punts. Average 44 3 yards.
No,
that's not bad.
When the chip's down, he stinks.
That's not bad. Let me ask you a question. Would you rather have him or Barry back there?
That's what I'm getting. Barry's not on the list.
Well, I'm sure Barry's still available.
Bring him back for a tryout. My left, and this one will always be on this list. Number 7 is Marky Mush. I hear from Marky, Steelers go up early, whatnot. Soon I get an email, a text message from Mark. Next thing I know, they're down 14, whatever. I don't hear anything from Mark from halftime on.
I'm starting to think that Mark is a guy that will email the Yinzer Brothers podcast from time to time, and him and Tim they struggle a little bit as far as just to love each other. I guess I don't know what it is, but Tim's calling out the fans now. He's dropping the gloves with our podcast fans.
He was very, very close. I had a C and an A on here. Claypool was very close to making the list. Very close.
And you don't want to make that list, but here's the reality. Everybody at some point in their life makes the list for Tim.
But you can come off the list. I will take you off the list. It's very hard to get off this list.
It is tough to get off the list. So the offense. So give me. Let's talk a little bit about what do you think? How do you think Ben looked tonight?
Ben, I mean, he missed a lot of throws.
He missed some deep throws. You can tell the deep throw's not there yet.
He missed a big touchdown to James Washington. James Washington had 2 steps on guys, He
did. Now you can see the arm strength is there. To me, it doesn't look like he's putting air under the ball. He's just overthrowing guys a little bit. Hopefully that'll come back. But I'll tell you what, the balls, even though they were overthrown, they were good-looking balls.
Yeah. I mean, with Ben, it seems like it's a tale of 2 halves. You know what I mean? He starting out slow, then, eventually I don't like that he's throwing the ball. I think he almost 40 attempts again this game.
It was like 36 attempts today, so it's a little bit more than we want to see. He was 23 for 36, 237 yards, 2 TDs, a 101.3 QB rating.
I just don't like the attempts.
That's a good day at the office.
It's a good day at the office. I just don't like that many attempps.
Yeah, I agree. And they ran the ball fantastic too.
To me, you want my highlight, my MVP for the whole entire offense for the whole day?
Yeah, who was your offensive MVP?
Chooks, because you heard nothing from J.J. Watt. You heard absolutely nothing from J.J. Watt. I don't know if he may have had one or two pressures all game.
Yeah, he handled Watt without a doubt.
I mean, it's easy to say James Conner, which he had a great game, but to me, you don't hear anything from J.J. Watt. It's your line is doing something right.
Oh, they are. I'm trying to look. I'm seeing time of possession. The Steelers had 36 minutes of possession to the Texans 23, and I want to say they had like 70-some plays to their 40-some plays, which might tell you why his throwing was so high because we just had the ball a ton.
Well, I think a lot of that switched second half. I think Texas had the ball a lot more the first half, and the Steelers seems like they had it.
They did.
Days in the second half. Got me a little nervous. They weren't finishing drives a lot too, because you want to finish drives against good teams. You want to put up 7 and you don't want to kick a field goal. So there's plenty of things that they can work on.
Absolutely. Well, you could tell too they were hurting a little bit when they lost Johnson. You could tell they were a little bit out of their rhythm. But I think Ben did good. I think he's getting sharper every week. Those outs are fantastic. Again, we got to remember he didn't play football for a year. So, he's still got some rust that's coming off, but I think he's doing fine. I thought we ran the ball very well, and I'll give kudos to Connor. Connor ran hard, but let's be honest with you. I mean, the holes that the offensive line was opening up, Tim, you and I could have ran through those things today. I mean, there was nothing spectacular. Tim's got four plays in the NFL. Yeah, I mean, they opened up some holes, and he was running hard. Again, I think he's a great runner if you can run a truck through it. He runs hard through that. If he's got a look, I'm still not a big fan of his vision.
You know what? This was kind of the first what I didn't really realize seeing DeCastro in there compared to Dotson, the rookie. When you look at it now, when Dotson was in there, they weren't doing a lot of pulling. They weren't doing that normal that power sweep that Steelers kind of do off tackle. I believe now with DeCastro, you have 2 guards that can actually pull to do that.
Do you notice too?
So
sometimes it's not the 2 guards. Sometimes it's Pouncey.
Yeah.
And DeCastro. How amazing is Pouncey? I mean, how many guards in the NFL are actually can pull like he can? He's unbelievable.
Yeah, you could tell, like I said, Dotson played a great game, but you can tell in the run game, once it gets going, they weren't pulling Dotson like they were with DeCastro.
No.
And you're kind of like, you got to get it now. You're going, okay, now I see why the running game wasn't really – you don't realize how important DeCastro is, that whole entire unit.
I'm going to give my offensive player of the game. I think it was Connor. I think he earned it. He did great, not just running the ball, but I think he had 40 yards reception out of the backfield. He looked great tonight. And, that's the equalizer thing. I do like this too. I like how they shared the love when it came to running the ball between Schnell, between Connor, and between McFarland. That was a good mix-up of running backs.
Here's my question for you is like, why is Jalen Samuels even seeing the field now? Now you see McFarland.
I think they're going to phase him out, and it would not surprise me at some point where for a game they'll deactivate Samuels.
I mean, because McFarland.
And let's be real too. As you get deeper into the season, people they might be hurting for a running back. He would be somebody that I could see on the chopping block at some point too, trading for a 5th round pick or something like that.
Yeah, he looks like he's, like you said, he's running. Anytime he touches the ball, he looks like he's underwater. He does.
He does. He looks like he's running a jelly. He looks terrible. So the offense, we put up 28 points. They look strong. If we put up 28 points every game, I mean, we can hang with pretty much anybody.
The one thing I get to be nervous of too is I know they don't use him as much, but seeing Derek Watt get hurt, he had that hamstring earlier in camp. Those hamstring industries can be just nagging all year. So I'm hoping,
right?
Because he's a demon on special teams, and I like it when he's in the game as a fullback. I know they were putting Vance McDonald back there a little bit, but you don't, kind of hoping he, maybe a couple of weeks he's going to be back to being 100% or so.
I hear you. Those hamstrings could be nasty. You've been nursing that one injury from what, 1997? Your hammy injury? Not quite there yet, but
97. It has 97 one recouped. I'm on one from about 2003.
2003. I get it. Those hammies, they're bad, man. You get sniped, they're bad. So the offense, they were great. What do you think is the biggest area of improvement for the offense?
This game, or just in general as the season's went on?
Well, after seeing the game tonight, what do you think they need to really work on?
They got to start connecting on some of them deep passes.
Yeah, they
stretching the field a little bit, because I could tell Houston was kind of, they looked like they were kind of jumping them quick routes. I saw a lot more of their D-backs right on our receivers' back, because they're running a lot of the crossing routes, a lot of the digs, a lot of the quick stuff, and they were right there. So they gotta start stretching the field a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's right. I was very pleased with the line. I think the line's starting to gel. Mm-hmm. I agree. I think they gotta work on it. That's just been, getting familiar with these guys, and hopefully we'll get Johnson back this week. Let's flip over to the other side of the ball. Let's talk a little bit about the defense. What are some of the things that they did well defensively tonight?
It was a tale of two halves. First half, they looked like, Deshaun Watson's good. Don't get me wrong. And I told you,
oh, he's very good.
I think when I made the statement of you got to keep him in the pocket more or less, it seemed like anytime he got out of the pocket, they couldn't cover. They couldn't cover those receivers.
He's shifty in that pocket too. He just, he moves around in there. He's just tough to get down, man.
He's a different, when you're comparing him and Lamar Jackson, like you said, he's different because Lamar Jackson, I just see Deshaun Watson can beat you with his arm, and he proved that. But when he got outside the pocket, he just buys time, and you guys like Cooks and those guys are finding gaps in that defense. And a lot of the time it's I just see Terrell Edmonds trailing everything.
Well, he's bad.
And I turn around and I see people pointing at him. Our linebackers going, what do you do?
He's bad.
I just go.
I'm surprised. Why haven't we seen Sean Davis yet?
He wasn't even active.
Jeez, I wonder if he's like okay. I wonder if he's hurt. Maybe
I don't care if he's hurt. If he has one leg, put him out there. I just anytime I see Edmonds, it seems like when there's a breakdown somewhere, he's
on the screen. He's right on the screen.
He just is. I even that one. The one thing I was parking with Bush when they scored a touchdown with the tight ends last week. If you go back and look at the tape, which I saw today, Edmonds is covering nobody in the flat. I was a safety. Very rarely in that type of defense, you're covering flat as a safety. Yeah. So, to me, I think when Bush looked back, I think it's a Terrell Edmonds blown assignment. He just blows assignments everywhere.
Yeah, I think he does.
You had guys just running free, and it's like I'm going, what is going on? Nelson, he got beat a couple times, but you can't just tell if it's tough to tell with that defense because everything they're running is zone. It's very tough a lot of the time to see if they're actually running man, if it's actually that man's fault, or if it's just somebody's just blew an assignment. And it seems like every time I'm thinking somebody blown assignment, all I see is number 34 blown assignments.
That's true. Well, they do play a lot of zone, and there's soft spots in the zone, but the zone is designed to, cover just long enough for your front guys to get a hold of the quarterback.
Non-existent this whole game too.
Well, now the first half, second half, he was a lot.
He was non-existent the whole game.
In fact, I think let me look here.
Bud was non-existent.
I'm looking at the stats. He ended up with a sack and a half.
That will be corrected early in the week. He was non-existent.
Bud the stud.
I will say. Tuitt looked pretty good. I thought Tuitt had a couple good splash plays.
Tuitt he had a big sack when we needed him. He kind of sprung to life, which was fantastic. And you know what? TJ Watt's he's a machine. He's a beast. Machine.
And you know what? You know who I'm starting to just love every day more and more? Mike Hill is just makes plays. He just makes plays.
He had 7 tackles tonight, single tackles. He was just amazing, and he had that amazing pick in the back.
He's everywhere. He is everywhere.
He is.
I'm taking it back that I haven't heard, seen. Is there an SOS out on Mika? I haven't seen him at all. I seriously, I mean, I haven't heard from about him. I haven't heard anything. I mean,
he's still back there.
But it's mind-boggling. He's not making any plays.
He was number 2 in tackles tonight. He had 5 solo tackles. So he's doing okay.
He's not making them splash plays that he made last year that you expect. When I saw last year, you're thinking he's the second coming of Troy or Ed Reed. And those guys made plays every game.
Oh, yeah.
And that's what kind of you're expecting. And I just don't – I haven't seen anything. I'm just stunned.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Hopefully as we get kicked into a little bit more, and as they pressure the QB more, these guys will start chucking the ball in the air more. And then we'll hear a little bit more about it. So what are some things that you think the defense did well tonight?
They stopped the run. I mean, they did. Even in the first half – they're giving up a couple runs here and there, but I don't think it was too – they weren't getting gashed or nothing in the first half. The second half, their Texans run game was just non-existent. I mean, it was beautiful. I mean, they didn't give them any points second half. So, I mean, overall they played well, Other than that, like I said, I get nervous with their pass defense because it's just – they can be picked apart. They can be picked apart.
Yeah, no, I think any zone team can. Very rarely do you have anybody that can't do that for zone, but I think you're right. So you think that their run defense was good. What's the thing that makes you nervous? Their pass defense, the zone. What do you think?
It's the pass defense right now. It's Terrell Edmonds. He gets me nervous. I mean, well, it's just their pass defense is not. I don't think it's looked good the past 2 games. I mean, just hasn't.
They have their moments. I mean, you knew that Deshaun Watson he was going to be a good test. I was impressed with. Again, I'm seeing more production out of Highsmith. I think that's great for a rookie to come in. He looks pretty good, man. He came into a series. I think. Watt was on the sideline, and he looked solid. He looked strong.
Oh, I know. I was holding my breath because I saw something that he was doing one of these with his shoulder. I'm going, oh, please, no.
I'll tell you what, you can't run on the Steelers either. They look amazing. No. And I do like how they kept Watson contained today. First half, he was running all over the place. I'll tell you what, I got to give it up to the coaching staff. Their second half adjustments were absolutely amazing.
But let me ask you a question. Do you think that second half adjustment had more to do with the adjustment on defense or the adjustment that the offense just controlled the clock? They weren't letting Watson on the field. You know what I mean?
The best defense is a great offense. You need those long drives. The Steelers had that. But, I mean, even when they did get after the defense, they were shutting the door pretty quick.
But I will say this, too, which I think was huge. I believe the Steelers didn't score when they got the ball coming out of half. Am I going crazy by saying that?
No, you're right, yeah.
But they flipped the field.
They did.
And that whole entire second half, that whole entire field was flipped. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I can say, kind of helped the defense too. They didn't, you got somebody's working within, inside the 20, which is great. Which back to one special teams thing that just drives me bananas. I think the Ray McLeod guy that they picked up, I mean, between him and like Switzer was doing stuff that got, it's like night and day. Switzer looked like, but Deontay Johnson has to learn if a punt, never to field a punt on the 5-yard, never a fair catch on the 5-yard line. It's
the
elementary.
Rule of thumb: if it's over the 10, you let it go.
It drives me nuts.
We're all kick returners. If it's over the 10, let that stinking thing go. I don't understand why they can't do that. It just drives me nuts. Here's a good. I mean, you're right. They did pin him pretty well in the back, and then they flipped the field, and I think they just kept they kept the Houston Texans in long situations, and you could only overcome that so long. They made him one dimensional. They said, Deshaun, you're gonna have to beat us with your arm, and in the end, he couldn't. He couldn't withstand the pressure, which is good. Hey, here's another plus for the Steelers tonight when it comes to penalties. We look great from a penalty standpoint. We had 2 penalties for 14 yards. What's there not to like about that? I mean, that's about as clean as you can get. Again, the Texans had 4 for 49. That big pass interference in the middle kept the drive alive.
And I think I heard an ungodly stat that this was the first game in 24 games the Steelers didn't have a turnover themselves. Like as in,
I don't know.
We didn't turn the ball over, and I think it's been 24. We've 24 consecutive straight games we've turned the ball over. This was the first one in 24 games we haven't turned the ball over, which to me is
I don't know.
An ungodly stat. It's crazy stat.
It is. That is terrible. Now, we did have one almost giveaway with Claypool at the 2. That'd have been awful if it went through the end zone. But it seemed by then, I mean, it was
he would have made the list.
He would have made Tim's list. Okay. Well, who is your defensive player of the game?
I mean, to me, it's Mike Hilton. I mean, TJ Watt had a good game, but to me, it's Mike Hilton. That pick that he had energized that whole entire defense, or I think the whole entire team in the second half, even though it was kind of a garbage pick I was a garbage pick, but, it was kind of inside our own 20 or 25. I think it just gave them a nice shot of momentum, a nice shot of juice that just carried them the rest of the game.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's Hilton too. I think he adds that dynamic that you just need. He just gives you a new dimension of things. It's good. So what was your overall feeling of the Steelers today as they played the Texans? Again, I know the Texans came in 0-2, but I don't consider them a pure 0-2 team. They're better than their record. I mean, look who they played, the last few games. What's your overall feel with what the Steelers did today?
TJ, with the hype of their defense is supposed to be a top 3 defense in this league. I expect them to shut everybody down. And to see what I've seen the past 2 weeks, I'm getting kind of, are they as good as the Steelers as good as their 3-0 record show? That's where I'm kind of at right now. To me, I don't even know next week against Tennessee that's going to be a litmus test for those guys.
Tennessee's coming in 3-0. They're not a slouch team.
Tennessee, man, they almost lost to, I don't know who was it today. I think they got lucky. Their field goal kicker hit like a 50-yarder or something like that. Of course, the field goal kicker that I dropped after the first week, I missed 7 field goals. Now he can't miss. So in fantasy, yeah. So I don't even know it's going to be a great litmus test for those guys. I don't know. I mean, to me, the proof in the pudding, I hate to say it, I think it's when they play – it's going to be when they play the Ravens. I mean, that's going to be your litmus test. I even think seeing the Browns now, they're actually looking pretty – I hate to say it, they're actually looking half decent too.
Yeah, they had a good win today.
I want to – these teams that they should be beating, they should be beating into a pulp. Their defense should be suffocating them. That's why I don't want to see – I'm expecting these teams not to score 13 points. That maybe that'd be their high. 13 points, that's it. I don't want to see a crappy Denver team score 20 points or even, Houston team, which they're okay, but I don't know, I don't know if Houston's for real. With their head coach, he's a moron. So I don't know. I know they got Watson. I know they got a couple half decent pieces, but I don't know how good they are either too, TJ. I don't know. I mean, it seemed like Baltimore took them out to the woodshed. Mm-hmm. We barely kind of snuffed through them, and I think Kansas City took them out to the woodshed. So it kind of tells you where you're at in the pecking order.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're talking about 2 prolific offenses, and I think, again, I think it'll be a good test for us. You're right. I'm anxious to see how we play, how we play the Ravens. I think when you look at but
let me ask you a question, though, too. Could you say 2 prolific, 2 great offenses and whatnot with Baltimore and KC? But in the old school thinking, isn't a good defense supposed to be good offense?
I think in the past, yeah, but I think we're an offensive, we're an offensive league now.
But I still think if you got a championship defense, if you have a championship defense, mm-hmm. you're going to beat most offensive teams when it comes to playing in the big dance. I mean, the Chiefs were kind of a different breed last year, but even those New England teams that were winning a whole bunch, their defenses were top 5 defenses.
They were.
So, I mean, or even the Seattle teams that were winning, they had a top. Yeah. So usually defense does win championships.
Oh, it does. It does.
And to me, a championship defense should be pulverizing these crappy teams.
Well, I think, too, obviously the offense takes a little bit longer to develop than the defense as far as the season is concerned. But the defense, especially complex ones like what we have, they take a little bit of time for everybody to gel. And I think they're getting better. Their front guys are just unbelievable. Again, as we get more and more pressure, the weakness of the zone defense is those little dump offs. And I think they did a pretty good job today of taking care of some stuff. Again, Watson, he got his. They had a couple really nice shots down the field, but they were bending, but they didn't break. And in the end, the Steelers could have put up another touchdown or 2 easy. but they didn't. They basically sat on that ball toward the end. So, I predicted the score would be 31-17. I was close, 28-21. You predicted a loss, if I remember correctly.
And I did. When it was 20-21, all I kept thinking was, I hope this doesn't turn out of Boz missing a field goal. Because Boz would have been right on the list.
He would have made the list. I get it. He would have made the list. Hey, a victory is a victory. A win's a win. We find ourselves 3-0. Next week we run into to see the Titans. We'll break them down later this week. Should be a great game. And again, the AFC North's looking pretty strong. Hey, even today, the Bengals, they tied with the Eagles today. It was crazy. So I don't know what's going on. The North, who knows? Maybe we'll have three teams in the playoffs with the new playoff system.
I mean, those fans in Philly got to be just loving Carson Wentz right now. Then especially because you just saw, Bears made that switch with Nick Foles when they were down about 3 touchdowns to the Falcons, and he brings them back to win.
Yeah.
Should have kept that statue of Nick Foles right there in Philadelphia and kept him there, guys.
They should have, but he's gone. So we'll be breaking down the Steelers and the Titans later this week. Again, if you got any questions for us or any ideas about the show, you can email us at yinzerbros@gmail.com. Again, that's yinzerbros@gmail.com. Perhaps your question will make the Yinzer mailbag, and if it does, you'll find yourself on the show. That's a very high honor. I don't need to tell you how high that honor is, but again, you can't get that honor if you're not willing to play. By the way, for those of you that can't see, you just downloaded our podcast right now. Tim is wearing the Franco's Italian Army helmet. He wears those after every victory. So far, it's 3 shows.
3 shows, 3 helmets.
3 helmets. So he's doing pretty well. He's complaining a little bit, but it's worth putting on the helmet for a victory. At least I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if you are watching our podcast on Facebook or on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel. Please like our page. Please download our podcast. And again, you can download our podcast on Apple or Spotify or any place great, awesome podcasts are downloaded. Remember, if you like what you hear, please spread the word with others. So this does it for our Steelers-Texans game recap. Again, the Steelers moved to 3-0 by defeating the Texans 28-21. Look for our game preview next week of the Steelers and the Titans. It'll drop probably Monday or Tuesday next week. Again, I am TJ. I'm here with my brother Tim, and we are the Yinzer Bros. Enjoy the victory, my fellow Yinzers. Have a good night, Pittsburgh.